Well, I'm delighted to be able to announce the agreement between Namibia Breweries and Diageo to distribute Windhoek beer across Africa and indeed across the world. The Windhoek beer brand is absolutely fantastic. It'll complement our portfolio very well, and we're delighted to be able to have the brand in our stable.
And take us through the terms and the strategies in the deal.
Yeah, the transaction was agreed at nil consideration, but what we'll bring to it is the Diageo marketing skills and insight, as well as our distribution vehicles across the world, to be able to distribute the brand wherever consumers want it.
Yeah, and where is it going to be distributed?
Initially our focus will be across Africa, but we do see it's got potential elsewhere around the world, so we'll be looking to explore opportunities, whether that be in the UK or the United States, or wherever else we see appropriate.
Yeah, and where will you be brewing Widhoek in Africa?
Currently the brand's available in South Africa, Namibia obviously, and a number of other southern African markets. And so on a market-by-market basis we'll decide whether to brew locally, where we have breweries, or whether to import from Namibia.
Are you not concerned that it's going to be competition for your premium brands in Africa?
Diageo's got a big beer business in Africa. We've got Guinness, the #1 stout. In fact, Guinness in Africa accounts for more than a third of Guinness worldwide. The Windhoek beer brand will sit perfectly alongside Guinness and indeed the other premium lager brands and enable us to offer a wider offering to consumers.
Yeah, and how much is it going to cost you?
In what regard?
In terms of distribution, production?
The brand will slot in perfectly alongside our other brands that we already produce, and so the cost of manufacture will be in line with a premium brand of the nature of Windhoek.
Let's talk about Africa's performance in terms of your brand. You've just posted some impressive results in Nigeria as well as across Africa. What were some of the highlights in terms of your brand like Guinness, the other breweries that you have?
Yes, we grew our total portfolio across Africa. I think net sales were up 20-odd% in the first half, and that was driven partly by Guinness. Volumes were up 8%, and net sales value was up 25%. But it wasn't just Guinness that was up. Johnny Walker, Smirnoff, Baileys, all of these brands, alongside our other lager brands, grew really very well.
What is the outlook for the breweries considering the global slowdown?
So far, Africa has been somewhat insulated compared to other parts of the world to the global credit crunch. However, we are seeing an impact, and increasingly so. The IMF recently reduced the growth forecast from about 5.5% GDP growth now to about 3.5%. And we've seen reduced remittances, reduced oil prices, stock markets declining, and all of that is beginning to have an impact in terms of consumer demand. So I think that the economic crisis is having an impact, albeit slightly less than elsewhere in the world, and we'll have to manage through that. That said, I think there's more than plenty of opportunities to compensate for that slowdown.
Yeah. How has your business been affected by the financial crisis?
There's been a number of currency devaluations in the cedi, the naira, the shilling, and to a certain extent the rand, and therefore the cost of some of our materials that you buy in euros or dollars has indeed gone up for us. So there's been that impact. That said, we're still seeing demand holding up, and we're continuing to meet that.
Are you excited to invest in Africa, Nick?
I'm very excited to invest in Africa. Guinness had in fact been shipped to Africa since 1827, and we've seen our business growing over those years. And over the last 4 or 5 years, our business has more than doubled.
Yeah.
I expect that to continue, and for sure there'll be some ups and downs. If we take a long-term view, Africa is most definitely a place to invest.